All right, welcome all to the
Hello,
launch.
everyone.
Can you all hear me okay? If not, let us know. And as usual, before we begin, you can find the interpretation at the language, that globe icon at the bottom of the Zoom screen. And if you have any troubles, just text us in the chat. And then I will ask my UNDP colleagues to kindly moderate it and also respond in the respective language. If we're all good, then I would like to say welcome again to everyone to the launch of the first course under the Urban Learning Center. Thank you all for taking the time in your busy schedules to join us today online. And for those that don't know me, my name is Tina Stone, and I manage the regional network of the joint EU and UNDP Mayors for Economic Growth, M4EG for short. And I will be your moderator for today. I think you all know this, but the M4EG has a network of close to 400 local authorities or municipalities in the Eastern Partnership, meaning Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine. And the main intention of this network, of this platform, is to support a green, smart, and inclusive trajectories of local development. Now, I think a lot of you were with us back in December. We, together with the EU and a number of partners, ARUP, Climate Kick, and Taltech, we have established the Urban Learning Center. We launched it in December 2022. And the Urban Learning Center, or ULC for short, will then offer learning and networking opportunities for all of the members. So today is a big milestone for us. We are finally ready to show to you the first course under the Urban Learning Center, which is called Foundations for Future Readiness. And if we can move to the next slide, we can look at the agenda of today. So, interesting agenda today. We're going to have, of course, a welcome from our colleagues at the EU. Then we're going to hear from you with a check-in on some questions. That's my colleague Samira, who will run us through those questions. And then we have a very interesting keynote speaker today, Charles Laundrie. And so I'll tell a bit more, introduce him later. And then we'll get into what really does this new course cover. We'll have colleague Tim from ARUP tell us a bit more about that. We'll also showcase the platform before we go into introducing the next steps, the rollout of the course, and that will come from our country coordinators or the country secretariats. And then, as usual, hopefully we'll have some time for questions and answers and a wrap up. And as always, we try to keep these calls as informal and open as possible. So please post any questions, any inputs, any suggestions in the chat in whatever language that you're comfortable with. And with that, I will hand it over to my colleague Thibault from the EU to give some opening remarks. Over to you, Thibault.
Thank you very much, Tina, and welcome. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to see so many participants in this meeting, and I would like to welcome you all to this launch of our first course under the Urban Learning Center. It's a very exciting moment, I think. My name is Thibault Charlet, and as Tina mentioned, I am the program manager for the Mayors for Economic Growth initiative in DG NEAR in the European Commission. And I would like also to thank our partners, ARUP, Climate Kick, and Taltech. They have been instrumental in designing this first course that we are going to present today. But first, I would like to remind you of the broader context for this initiative. So, Mayors for Economic Growth is funded by the European Commission, the European Union, and implemented as part of a strategic partnership with UNDP. It is one of our flagship projects to boost the resilience of municipalities in the Eastern Partnership region and to help them to build back better following the COVID-19 pandemic and in the face of the consequences of Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. This Mayors for Economic Growth initiative is a very important project for all of us, and it is part of our agenda, our wider agenda for the future of the Eastern Partnership region, which was adopted by the leaders of the Eastern Partnership countries and of the European Union back in December 2021. And this agenda remains more relevant than ever in the face of the war of aggression launched by Russia in Ukraine. The main objectives that we have set in this agenda, 5 of them, related to economic development, the green and digital transitions, but also democracy, rule of law, and working with civil society are, I think, very much mainstreamed in all of our activities under Mayors for Economic Growth. One important aspect also is this agenda is underpinned, it is supported by an ambitious economic and investment plan, which has the potential to mobilize up to 17 billion euro of public and private financing in the region in the next years in cooperation with our partner financial institutions. And we would like to use Mayors for Economic Growth to as a vehicle to help you mobilize funding, attract more investment opportunities under this economic and investment plan. So this requires first to develop sustainable and meaningful projects which comply with the broad targets that are in the common agenda for the region and also in lines with the Sustainable Development Goals. And if the projects are sustainable enough, they will attract more financing, and we will help you make this link with the local banks, the partner financial institutions, and also capitalize on the broad portfolio of EU-funded projects, also implemented by UN agencies in the region. I think we need to see this program as such a vehicle to mobilize more funding. And this is the reason why we are very happy to have this Urban Learning Center. This is a very innovative learning platform for all of the members of the Mayors for Economic Growth. As Tina said, we have close to 400 members in the network, and this is a way for each of the city to benefit on an equal footing from the learning opportunities of the initiative. And the platform is designed to integrate various courses on different topics. It is not set in stone, so it will continue to evolve based on your needs, based on your interests. And this is why we would like to encourage you to sign up to the platform, to participate in the courses and to provide us with your feedback, because we need to shape this together to make it very targeted. So the first course that we are going to present today is, as the name says it's a building block to other courses which will come up. The first course will help you build smart and inclusive cities, embrace the green, the digital, and the just transition, and explore new pathways for economic growth. So it is possible, it is likely that such a course will become a prerequisite to engage in future opportunities under Mayors for Economic Growth, including future financing opportunities. We would like to link the participation in the courses with the involvement in the other initiative, and this is why the Urban Learning Center is such a cornerstone of the Mayors for Economic Growth going forward. I would like to conclude here, just to highlight again that, and you will see it in the presentation, we would like to make sure that the courses are as interactive as possible, with different formats such as quiz, videos, and a different set of activities to help you benefit from it. And again, we will highly value your feedback on this. So please sign up to the course, participate, and let us know what you think about it. I think we would be very happy to discuss this. Thank you very much again for your participation, and we will have now a small interactive activity with Semira. So I wish you all fruitful discussions. Thank you very much.
Super. Thank you so much, Thibault, for setting the stage and also overall for the work that we are doing together on the Maze for Economic Growth. Now, Semira, over to you and your questions to all of us.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So we have 3 questions that we would like to run by you on future readiness, and I will launch the poll here. So the first one is, on what capabilities do you believe are essential for municipal staff in order to tackle current and future development challenges? So you can choose multiple of these. One option is digital literacy and technology proficiency, effective project management skills, strong communication and collaboration abilities, analytical and problem-solving expertise, adaptability, and openness to change. And I will give 2 minutes for this, or no, 30 minutes, sorry, 30 seconds more for this one.
And feel free to also come with any comments in the chat as well. Or if you have any issues with the poll.
Yes, so I see there's very few answers so far. Now it's coming in. Good.
Some can't find the question. Do you see, Semira?
Sorry, some can't find the questions. Oh, I didn't see it in the chat. Let's see.
Yeah. Feel free to use the chat as well.
Yeah. I don't know why it's not showing for everyone, unfortunately.
Maybe we can post them also in the chat.
Yes.
Let's see, we have more respondents now. So do you think digital skills is now the most important thing? Maybe project management skills, communication, collaboration, analytical problem solving, and or adaptability or openness to change. And so far, project management skills seems to be what people are emphasizing.
I will post them in the chat as well now. Oh, message is too long. Okay, then I can post the second questions and the question, and then we can move to that one. Okay. So on the second one, here we would like to hear more on these unconventional capitals that Charles probably will talk a little bit more about later. So which ones of these unconventional capitals which you believe will have the most positive impact on improving your municipality? And I will post some more. And interpreters, please help me translate. They're in English, so you can just translate from what you see on the screen for the options. There's civic creativity that emphasizes harnessing collective imagination and innovative thinking to address urban challenges and enhance the quality of urban life. We have civic generosity, which refers to spirit of generosity and collective action within a community where individuals and organizations willingly contribute for the betterment of the community. Then creative city focuses on a collaborative on fostering creativity and innovation in urban areas to drive economic growth, social development, and cultural vitality. We have placemaking, where we're focusing on transforming public spaces into vibrant people-centered places, social cohesion, focuses on connectiveness and trust among individuals and groups within a community, and then regenerative city, which goes beyond sustainability and aims to create cities that actively contribute to the restoration and enhancement of ecological systems. Okay, and there are also some answers incoming there. Great. Tina, I don't know if you want to follow up on this question. Otherwise, I can share the last one.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I think it's really interesting. The majority, at least on my screen, are saying creative city is important.
And then we have the last question. On a scale from 1 to 5, how would you rate your municipality's resilience? And 1 is the lowest, 5 the highest. And resilience here refers to the ability of the municipality to withstand and recover from various challenges and shocks, such as natural disasters, economic downturns, or other unexpected events. So we have something in the middle here. 3 is leading.
So there's
how
some
resilient.
that there is some that have said 5. So they think that their municipality is very resilient going forward. And I think it'll be really interesting to hear more about that. So if you feel like it, do share a bit more in the chat, which municipality you're calling in from, your city and town, and how you view this. I'm sure there's a lot of things that we can learn from each other. And some of the things that one key element of the Urban Learning Center is to create a space where we can have more peer-to-peer, so more municipality to municipality learning and sharing from each other, because I think a lot of the time that's also where good solutions or good ideas could come from, and not necessarily from outside, let's say, or from outside technical expertise.
Great, thank you all for your answers. And I will end the poll, and back to you, Tina.
Super. Can we share the results as well, Samira, now before we go over?
Yes, let's see. Do you see it? Because it says that it's sharing. Okay, stop. Share results. Now?
Yes.
You can see the results? Okay. Any big surprises? Anything that stood out? Some of these terminology is also a little bit new to many of us. So we're also testing it a bit, but feel free to put any comments in the chat, or if you want to say a few words, you can also raise your hand. All right, well then I think we can move on. Thank you so much, Samira. And so thank you all for answering these questions. And with that in mind, we're really happy to have Charles Landry with us today. And Charles has a really long career in the urban space. I think he's very passionate about the role of cities. And he actually is an advisor over many years. He's been an advisor to cities, to mayors, to municipalities across the world. I think you came up, Charles, with this concept of a creative city back in the 1980s already. And you have written, I know, many books, and one of them we have at the office. It's the art of city making. I can recommend it to everyone. A lot of insights here, and a lot of that thinking is also feeding the work that we do at UNDP and also under the Urban Learning Center with EU and a number of partners. And lastly, Charles, you also started a festival for bureaucrats in Berlin every year. I had the pleasure of joining you for the first time this year, where civil servants come together to be inspired and to think and discuss what does going beyond business as usual really entail for us as bureaucrats. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Charles, to share a little bit about what you're seeing from your point of view and reflect on what type of skills or capabilities or environment that us, I would say us as public servants, but whether that is at the local level, national level, or international level, things that we should keep in mind going forward. So over to you. Thank you. And thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, it's obviously a pleasure for me to be here, and it's a privilege as well, seeing all these people from that region. Wonderful, fantastic. I wish I could touch you. Anyway, future readiness. Oh, I thought about that when you mentioned that word. Why, what, and how. And I think we all know that all of us are feeling that we need to think ahead because we know the situation is dramatic. And as we think ahead about this future, one of the things that we know, of course, there's been dramatic change. Now, there are some big issues in that, and future readiness means, of course, being aware of them. And one of them is the fragility in the world. And that makes it a bit more difficult. If it was all not fragile and fixed and clear, life would be easier. In other words, things can fall apart. And one of the things that could fall apart is the way we treat our Earth. And I don't need to mention all these problems about climate collapse and so on. This is an artwork by Olafur Eliasson, who brought pieces of the icebergs into Paris and Copenhagen and elsewhere, and reminded us of how the world is heating up and the ice is melting. But basically, to be future ready means that we need to be aware of our footprint, our ecological footprint. And one thing we need to think is, are there alternatives to fossil fuels? And there, of course, are. So we have to think about issues like hydrogen and so on. But in some ways, and I don't want to sound too dramatic, it's a bit like 1 minute before midnight. And what I find interesting about your mayor's group is, of course, these are global solutions. So not only are you dealing with your situation in Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, etc., but perhaps you need to be collaborating together on these issues. So one of the key questions around future readiness is the willingness to share and collaborate and do things together. That's at least my opinion. So that means being beyond purely egotistical. In Britain, for example, Liverpool and Manchester, 2 football teams, but also as cities, they should collaborate rather than compete. The other thing, of course, is the massive breakthrough we all know and are experiencing, and we saw it in the poll a minute ago, which is the digitizing world that is completely immersive, of course. Many positive things, some negative things about, our human sovereignty. Has someone else got too much data about us? Is that restricting our freedom? And then, of course, AI. I don't need to mention the dramatic implications of chatbox, GTP and things like that, and AI in general. Again, these things have positives and negatives. So how we deal well with the digitizing world to bring out the benefits is a key question of future readiness. And then this issue for us, for all of us, about diversity. How are we going to get on in our differences? How are we going to be convivial? How are we going to be able to find ways of talking about our differences without being dramatically horrible to each other, and perhaps not living in an echo chamber where we only talk to those people we agree with? I know I'm saying this, I find it difficult too, to talk to people who I fundamentally disagree with, but we need to do that. And then I'm always thinking about, of course, children, they are the now, the now, are we going to open the doors and give opportunities to the young, and in a way rebuilding our cities? This is a UNESCO project in Mexico where young people are imagining how their city would look. Interesting to see how boys and girls thought about things differently, but that's a different topic. But also within that, this thing about the world moving too fast is obviously one of the problems about future readiness. When there's too much information, can you actually be still and think and be clear? And then within that, of course, the generational question. In so many cities, of course, the young are leaving. And the question is, how can you create livable places to make them come back? That is one of the massive issues of our time. And a lot of all of this, if you gather it together, is actually these transformational processes are psychological. I'm not saying we all go to the psychotherapist or anything, but it's just a mind shift which we need to adapt to. And one important thing is, if you look at all these transformations together, it reminds us that it is a cultural project, because it is about our values, our attitudes, our habits, our skills, and many other things. So what are these capabilities that you're doing in this course? By the way, I think this course is fantastic. It's a fantastic course. And what are local authorities going to do now, and how are they going to think for the future? Now, why are we talking about it? We all know our way of life and economic order reminds us that we're in the midst of a systemic crisis, and a business as usual will not get us to where we need to be. Our way of life is materially expansive, socially divisive, and environmentally hostile. So future readiness means really understanding that truth. So I've asked myself, is future readiness different for the individual, the organization, or the city? Now, clearly, all of them need to be future ready, but being future ready in an organization is a bit different from as an individual. Here, questions of team working, breaking down silos in organizations, collaborating together, all of that becomes important. In terms of future ready for the city, it means thinking in systemic terms, the city as an organic ecosystem, perhaps. And then, is it only the public sector that needs to be future ready? Is it only mayors and politicians? Is it us as administrators? Is it the private sector? Is it the civic world? Is it the academic world? And of course, all of them need to be future ready, which reminds us again of this collaborative imperative. And in that, I think we do need to, and I've mentioned it already, understand this bigger context. And someone said there's a distinction between the clear, I know we're at an UNDP event, the complicated things like, I don't know, moving from here to Istanbul is quite complicated. The complex, bringing up a child, you don't know what they're going to do and respond. The chaotic, which may actually have patterns that you can see, and the confused. And I think it's quite interesting to just think about what's clear, what's complicated, what's complex, and what's completely confusing. The other thing I think when we're trying to be future ready is to make the distinction between the shallow and the profound. So whatever the latest fashion is, I don't know, is perhaps a bit shallow, it's okay, but what's profound? Or, I mentioned complicated and complex, the difference between them. Going to the moon is actually quite incredibly complicated, but not as complicated in the unpredictable ways that complex systems develop. And this means that we as people, you as people, I think, need to be able to relax into this unpredictability. And this is really difficult. I understand that, because we want certainty. The other thing I think we need to be able to distinguish is, when we're looking at change, is to think of it like an ocean. There are ripples on top, and then there are other waves below, and then there are tectonic shifts like tsunamis that come. And one of the tsunamis we've already mentioned is related, of course, to the world getting hotter and hotter. Another way of looking at it, and this I think helps us, is when you try to unscramble these things, is there are fault lines. These are so deep-seated that there are massive issues in the world, like, for example, the priority of environmental ethics. Is the world, is nature the thing, the person we want to heal and feel good about? Or is it purely economic rationality? I need to make a profit. But if that's going against the environment, that's a real fault line. A battleground is something else below that. There are many, you know, local distinctiveness versus globalization, for example. Or, in order to sort the problems of the world out, is it just a technological fix, or is it behavior change? And these are battlegrounds. People say, oh no, it's all of technology will solve it. Others say, no, change your behavior. And then there are paradoxes. I find it amusing or interesting that people talk creativity. You saw it in the poll. And then we have this risk culture which says, you can't do this, you can't do that. Now that's a real paradox. No, Tina, don't do that, but be creative. Or the normal things people talk about in thinking about change, they say demographics. Well, I think that's fine. We know the population is growing, but what is more important, I believe, is the things above. But one of the things that inhibits being future ready is our pre-existing decisions, our dominant ideas that are often bad. I've got bad ideas as well, no worries. And the way our mind works. So a lot of what I'm saying, as you can see, is how we think. That is one of the key things. Now, when we're thinking, and we've got this complicated world ahead of us, is things that sometimes help is a crisis, is an opportunity perhaps to do this deeper thinking, but also concepts. You said there in the poll, how resilient do you feel? Well, that's a relatively new concept, and it's supposed to help us understand what our priorities are. Of course, there are missions. Missions means having an idea, an ambition, perhaps a vision of the future. But also, I think what's very important is the ethical foundation with which city leaders operate. What is your ethics? You know, are you really interested in being inclusive, or do you really just like having power? Perhaps both, I don't know. And then, of course, sometimes there's an evolving mood that shifts a system. So, for example, the idea of the 15-minute city, of course, it existed historically, but someone, Carlos Moreno, gave the name the 15-minute city, and that obviously has become quite popular. So in short, what I'm saying is we all need to wake up, and the pandemic reminded us of that. And I think because of the way it actually forced us to think clearly, and it was the biggest experiment in the world in climate emissions reduction, the lockdown, or the luckdown, as my friend puts it here, is actually an opportunity, because we were able to breathe again, or more, better, to hear the birds sing, and things like that. So the central message, that I think I'm giving about future readiness is that we need to harness and bring together the collective imagination and intelligences in a city within which, let's say, the mayor is hopefully the convener of bringing these together, these intelligences, imagination, and resources, which I think is more able to address wicked problems. A wicked problem, as you know, is a problem that is incredibly complex, but it's so urgent you have to address it, even though you don't necessarily know the immediate answer. So this collaborative imperative across stakeholders is clearly absolutely essential. But there are some interesting strategic choices which need to be orchestrated. And I've often said that a leader in a city needs to be strategically principled, but tactically flexible. You need to know certain things that are non-negotiable, that you really truly believe in, and you are fixed about that, but you don't know how you're going to achieve them. And that's where the flexibility comes from. Need is required, but you've got these principles that hold you and keep you on your ground. Then another thing, which I think is really interesting, I don't know if you've noticed, friends in the audience, there's a lot of discussion about what should be slow and what should be fast. There's a new book just come out called The Slow Lane, which shows that the real changes that we need to do take a long time, a lot of preparation. And that means instituting processes now where you know you will only have a result in quite a few years. And this is difficult in political climates where, of course, mayors change and political cycles. So trying to get agreement on the principles, even if politics changes, is important. And then understanding what needs to be fast. Certain things do need to be fast, like agreeing that we will deal with, I don't know, the climate agenda. Then I suppose overall what we're saying is we need to bend the market. We want the energy of the market and all of that, but we want that energy framed within guidelines that are about these bigger picture purposes, the common good, the public interest, and all of these sorts of things. So how then do you trigger the changes so that it goes in the direction you want? Now, these are just some questions. There are probably 20 I could put down. Is it crisis or urgency to get us to really be future ready and think about the future? Is it our fear or hope? Does our fear paralyze us and not make us future ready? Because I try to take a half glass full approach, even though the world is difficult, I think it's really having a narrative of opportunity. That is about the plan B, that narrative of opportunity, which says we can create a world that is better than already exists, call it planet B. We can imagine it. And in creating that, of course, we need to sort out the planet we have with all its problems. I know all of the things I'm saying are very easy to say and difficult to do, but they are actually, I hope, about future readiness. And many of you will know the OECD Office of Public Sector Innovation ways of thinking about being innovative, and you mentioned that you should be creative and innovative. One is to enhance things that you've already doing and making them better. The other is to say the old thing doesn't work and we need to adapt it. But what, in terms of future readiness, is important is to anticipate the implications of the changes that I highlighted early, and to anticipate what the effects might be on your populations. And that leads us back to this thing about having an ambition, a mission, a target, call it a vision, whatever, in your city. So maybe, I hope that will all work, because one thing is very clear, and I think if you take a poll of the general public, there is a deep yearning to have a world that is better than it already is. I mean, you know, you can call it dream, you can call it imagination, whatever. So I certainly feel from my experience that that is true. So one of the things I think is quite important, and the poll didn't give it the highest score, but I think it's incredibly high, because we've got this thing about the mayors, the political leaders, and the public administrators together, and they are so important in shaping cities. So how would they communicate? And I'm always asking myself, is it just through words? And often there's far too much text, and perhaps the visual way of communicating might be better to inspire audiences. And here it's quite interesting to think through iconic communication, where, like that image I showed you of the melting icebergs, versus saying, Tina, it's about time you changed and changed your behavior. I've been watching you. You've been, I don't know, doing X, Y, Z. It's more, sorry, Tina, I keep on referring to you. I apologize, but you are the moderator.
No worries. Happy to have that role.
Okay. But sometimes that iconic communication really is like, tells 1,000 words. So just understanding these different ways of communicating are important. But perhaps most importantly, it is the project that you do that embeds this, solving this future problem, that people can feel, that is the most powerful thing. And that's where, for example, on environmental questions, when I walk through Chisinau or somewhere, can I feel that you are really very aware of environmental concerns? So what we're talking about is rethinking and enabling and redesigning. And so this redesigning might be to do with rules and regulations. That's where our festival tries to think that through. Now, the creative bureaucracy, and the creative bureaucracy is also about the link between politicians and public administrators, asks three things. What are the rules and incentives for the next period? How is the inner life of that bureaucracy shaped? Can we harness the potential of all these public administrators who have so much energy often? You know, not everybody is wonderful in the administration, but a lot are. And how can you create better links to these wider worlds, civic, business, and so on? And this enabling culture has about 5 or 6 points, and I will stop there then. The first guiding principle is, how can you move from a no because to a yes if culture? Again, easy to say, but this is a culture which says, I've got this idea, I want to solve this problem. Instead of saying, no, the rules forbid it, you say, it could be possible if you do this or that. The second guiding principle is, I think, to say the public administration and the public sphere is not everything, but without making that the best possible organization we can, nothing much can work. A third principle, and I'm back to this tactically flexible, is we might think of planning as moving from this known predict and provide model. Yes, I will do this and it will take 4 years and this is how we will progress, to something that's more flexible, which I'm calling elastic planning, which is this thing I discussed earlier about strategically principled, tactically flexible. And then, and this is quite important, again, easy to say, reframing the vision. So often it's not like this, as I put here, reframing the vision so that the vision shapes the rules, not the rules the vision. So we mustn't be, I believe, restricted by the existing rules. And we must ask then, are we going to do it the right way, i.e. according to the rules, or are we going to do the right thing? And this reminds us of this, and there's a big debate in many countries about this. Are we following the letter of the law or the spirit that we wanted to achieve? And one of the challenges there is that so often I've noticed in countries that rules or recommendations or suggestions are often treated as if they have the power of law and are very restrictive, which means that the organization is less flexible. Furthermore, in many countries, and people who are legal people are lovely, but it's often the legal mind that dominates, not the person who knows about social life or economics or communication. And there needs to be a much better balance in organizations between those who are in charge. I know some people don't like me saying that, but I believe it's true. And then we're near the end. What I feel we need to remind ourselves that so often these public administrations recruit very bright people, but train them to conform, even though in their private life, they have this agility that I'm talking about, agility framed within good principles and ethics. So we obviously need to combine agility with stability, because we need to have some level of predictability. We need to obviously cherish and admire people who have specialist discipline in their silo, but they need to have a mindset also to collaborate. And they need to be able to work across disciplines. So what are the qualities we need? We need to learn as well from what others do and what other organizational cultures do better. So for example, I think some of the startup culture thinking, I think is quite positive because it's very entrepreneurial. It looks for opportunities. It tries to solve problems. And sort of more or less finally, what is the mindset of this future ready politician, bureaucrat, administrator, private sector person, civic person? They're able to think in divergent ways, broadly, and know when to bring things together and be convergent. They need to be able to think in an integrated way, understand not every discipline, but the essence of what a discipline is about. So you don't need to be a finance wizard, but at least you need to know a bit about what finance is about if you work in the social sphere, for example, but also to be foresight focused, being able to think ahead. One thing underestimated, in my view, is this emotional intelligence. People who are emotionally intelligent are so fabulous, I think. I find them wonderful because, you know, they can communicate well, they make you feel more than what you are, and they listen. And so the skills we need increasingly are obviously our technical skills, whatever that is, our specialist skills, but these generic, like, and I keep on emphasizing it, the ability to communicate. And then obviously, I've mentioned it before, to be collaborative and be, I suppose, less egotistical. So what we're talking about is shifting the organization and the culture of management and really thinking about a new organizational type where also the politician gives up some power because they are giving power away also perhaps to other sectors. There are many examples. Leuven, the capital of innovation in Europe, Western Europe, became capital of innovation because its decarbonization plan for 2030 was shared between the civic, the private, the public, and the academic world. which took a long time for them to organize. So, as I said, this transformation is a cultural project. Again, easy to say, difficult to do. And it requires courage. I realize that. And I think all of this is a movement in the making. Thank you very much.
Super. Thank you. Thank you so much, Charles, for setting this frame for us. Lots of food for thought and inspiration. I really like the glass is half full. I think that's important, and the yes and mentality. I wonder, I know we are short on time, so that's, but at the same time, because we have you here on the call today, are there any, and since we have still more than 120 colleagues online, is there any questions to Charles while we have him here? Anything that stood out for you? Anything that was particularly inspirational, or something that you completely disagree with? And if you would like to raise your hand for a quick question or post a question in the chat, feel free to do so. I really like your thinking around strategically principled, but tactically flexible. I think that should be, that's something that we could also bring into some of the thinking that we have around the leadership, any particular leadership course, etc., under the Urban Learning Center. I think that's a good rule of thumb. I got Tico who raised her hand. Tico, you want to come in with a quick question?
Yes, hello. Thank you for this impressive presentation. So just one thing I picked up was that how fast the change shall happen. So it's so relevant in our context, and it's a, how to say, constant question, whether are we too slow or are we too fast, or when and how the changes shall happen. So it was really interesting to hear your opinion on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. When do you need to be fast and when you need to be slow? And I don't think there's a definite answer, but some of the big transformations that have happened took a long time, don't they? Often some activists said, do something like this, and then nobody took any notice. And then they persuaded 10 people, and then 100, and then 1,000. And then 5 years later, you suddenly see a movement evolving. For example, the idea of resilience. In the specialist world, resilience has been around for a long time, but before it got onto the political agenda and was acted upon, took a long time. But in terms of fast, the problem there is sometimes if we're doing things too fast, we haven't thought them through. And I just think even asking ourselves the question between what should be fast and what should be slow is already, for me at least, has been helpful, because I tend to be someone who acts too fast and then hits my head on the wall because I didn't look at what was in front of me. So perhaps what I've learned by thinking about fast and slow is to be more slow. Now, perhaps if someone is slow, they need to learn to be fast. I'm not sure. So I know I'm not giving you a very good answer, my friend, but that's my answer for today.
Super. Thank you, Charles. We hope to have you with us, perhaps at other sessions under the Urban Learning Center or anything else that we have planned going forward. So we have the next agenda item is to dig into that course. So, but I think you have really set a good frame, a lot of food for thought in terms of thinking around what is needed of all of us, particularly maybe the culture shift and the mindset needed to going forward. So a big thank you from all of us here within UNDP and with our partners, and I'm sure municipality colleagues as well. Thank you so much for taking the time, and we hope to see you with us soon again. If you want to stay on, please.
Yeah, I do want to stay on, and I'm pleased to stay on. That's great. Yeah.
Super. All right, I am going to, because I'm mindful of the time, I'm going to cut my part And we're gonna jump straight into a video, and then after the video, Tim, the floor is yours. Over to you, Samira.
Are you ready to help shape your city or town's new pathways for green and smart economic growth? The Foundations for Future Readiness course under the Urban Learning Center ULC is tailored for local government staff and managers, focusing on developing essential core and soft skills for economic development. The course is a building block to a whole range of other courses under the Urban Learning Center, including smart and inclusive cities, green and just transition, and pathways for economic growth. Are you eager to expand your municipality's horizons? Discover cutting-edge approaches to urban development that will help you tackle 21st century challenges. From managing complexity and innovation in the public sector to accessing funding and resources, you'll learn how to take your city beyond business as usual. The foundation module is designed to fit into your busy day and is available in several languages, including English, Armenian, Azerbaijani, Georgian, Romanian, Russian, and Ukrainian. The ULC is part of the Mayors for Economic Growth Facility, the EU and UNDP joint initiative. The M4EG recognizes the vital role that cities and communities play in driving sustainable growth and prosperity and is committed to enhancing their learning as a driving force behind new economic development planning. Join us today and acquire the tools and knowledge necessary to transform your city into an innovative, vibrant, and future-ready place to live.
Thank you. Tim, over to you.
Hi, thank you. Hello, everyone. If you remember, in December last year, we launched the Urban Learning Centre concept and the aspirations for that in terms of how we expected, looking forward, it to evolve. And as part of the launch, we invited Mayors for Economic Growth members to give us feedback in a survey on your learning needs and areas of interest and where your priorities might lie in the development of those learning resources. If you want to see the results of that survey, it's published on the Urban Learning Centre website. However, overall, though, we had a very good response, and the key feedback was that there was a requirement for a very wide range of learning needs and interests. So in response to that feedback, we've developed the Foundations for Future Readiness course so that we can cover a very broad front of topics. And we've also taken some feedback on some of the more process learning elements like project management, which also came out on the little survey today. And we've weaved those into some of the deep dive modules that we've got in development at the moment, like the Pathways for Economic Growth, which I'll say more on later. And other key feedback was like having access to online courses and in your own country language, which is exactly what we're doing. Have the next slide, please. The Foundations for Future Readiness course introduces some of the key topics that will shape municipalities in the coming decades and respond very much to those challenges Charles set out for us. The intention of the course is to boost the future readiness of municipalities to shape thriving places. It has a number of modules that cover both the concepts of change, which give you a good grounding of some of the basic fundamental principles, alongside more practical approaches for future readiness that give you some introductory tools that you can start to apply and develop your thinking as you find appropriate. Next slide, please. In terms of the concepts of change, we have 3 modules, the first of which is Drivers for Change. This looks at our complex and interconnected changing world and explores how to address some of the opportunities and new challenges. The second is on understanding smarter and inclusive cities. This presents an overview of the topic, explains the challenges of urban growth, and contextualizes the emergence of the smart city concept and its contribution to sustainable development goals. The third is on understanding the green and just transition. This explores what it means in practice for cities, towns, or regions managing decarbonisation alongside economic growth and introduces a transition map framework. The last 2 are also very good pre-qualifications for the deep dive courses in these subjects that we've got in current development. Then we have 4 modules on the approaches for future readiness. These cover the first on managing complex challenges. This provides tools for looking at the underlying root causes and introduces systems thinking. The second is on innovation in the public sector. This outlines what this means in practice in cities, towns, or regions when faced with complex challenges, introducing ways of thinking about local government systems and cities and towns could operationalize these transformational pathways.
Sorry, Tim, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I think we have lost translation. I just want to check in. I see comment from Lucine and also from Javed.
Okay, let's see.
Interpreters, so it's back in for Azerbaijani, but I think there's a background noise. Can you, Lucine, is it better? Is it okay? Maybe we can, I think at least one of them are okay, but let's continue and then it's okay. Great, thank you. Sorry, Tim, over to you again.
No problem. So we also have a module on mobilizing funding and resources, and this focuses on the challenge of accessing sufficient resources and funding, exploring the roles municipalities can play in mobilizing resources and funding, and which instruments are available to enable this. And lastly, we have pursuing future readiness, which considers how to plan in an adaptive and flexible way to manage future uncertainty whilst taking action today that benefits future generations. And as you'll note, all of these play across the themes that Charles outlined before. Go on the next slide, please. The Foundations for Future Readiness course in time could become a prerequisite for M4 EG development opportunities. And it does exactly what it says on the label by providing a building block or a foundation across the broad front for future, more in-depth, deep dive courses. And we have 3 in development covering pathways for economic growth, green and just transition, and smarter inclusive cities. And we'll be providing more information of these in the very near future. And all these courses and modules are very complementary to each other, but whilst they've been designed to work together, they can be taken independently to support where your local priorities and needs are. And depending on the needs and interests and your feedback, there is potential for more courses to be developed. And we will look to continue to broaden these things in time. And next slide, please. And finally, how is the module structured and what can you expect? Well, the modules have been designed to support self-learning such that you can go at your own pace and at your own time of choosing. They'll take about 40 minutes in total to complete, though they can be broken into bite-sized chunks, so you don't need to do them all in one go. There's going to be some written content for you to digest, available in your local language. And there are videos to explain some key points and provide some examples and some inspiration. And there are some simple quizzes so you can check your understanding. There are also some example tools and exercises for you to complete to set you on the path of future readiness. And you may find it beneficial to complete the course as a local cohort so you can learn and discuss and apply things together and support each other. So there we are. That's a quick overview of the courses. Thank you.
Super. Thank you, Tim, so much for the overview of the course. But also thanks to all colleagues at ARUP, Climate Kick, and Tallinn University of Technology for putting this together with us and the ongoing work together. As Tim pointed out, we have at least 3 other courses coming up, building on this foundation course. Now, just to recall, the foundation course is a bite-sized and introductory course. It takes about 4 hours to complete. And today, all the course is fully available in English. And then in all the other languages, now online, you can then access the first 3 modules. So now we're going to just quickly show you how the site looks like. And Samira, would you like to, you're showing us here on the screen. So this is the Urban Learning Center SparkBlue site. So if you haven't signed up, I suggest that you do that even now as we speak. That's where all the courses, this is the online site where all the courses will be. We also have a knowledge bank there with resources. And then And if somebody can post in the chat already now, how to sign up to that, that would be super. And then from there on, you can go into the course. This is the, as you can see now, this is the Foundation for Future Readiness course. We have 27 members. We hope many of you will be able to join soon. We'll also send you description on how to do that. And we have then, this is the English version, but we'll of course have the other languages are also available. And the first 3 modules here then will be available in the other languages. And then as we roll it out, more and more will come over the next couple of weeks. Right. So I hope you all engage with this platform. Now, in addition to that online platform, we will also do, of course, in-country events, and we try to tailor this as much as possible to your country context. So with that in mind, I know we are a little short on time. I hope everybody can stay over maybe 10-15 minutes. And now I will then hand it over to my colleagues at the country level who will speak quickly about what is expected and what will happen over the next couple of months within the countries. I'll start with Gerard and Armenia. Over to you, Gerard.
Thank you, Tina. Hello, everyone. I'll shift to Armenian now, if you don't mind.
Hi, dear colleagues. Thank you very much for your presence here, and special thanks to all who invested their efforts, instructions to have today's course in place, which will allow us, as the speakers mentioned, get to know all innovative, interesting experiences and insights around which will be useful to our municipality staff in terms of capacity, capability development, which in its turn will play effective role. This online platform is important in a sense because it will amplify the possibilities and at the same time, considering our multiple conversations with you, that there is more preference to have offline training experience. In view of this, we decided to implement offline face-to-face training courses. That is this introductory training course, and we are planning to have the first one from August 8th to 9 in Armenia, in Zahkadzor. Today or tomorrow, you will be receiving the invitation, and each municipality will have the opportunity to send 2 representatives. We recommend this to be community mayor or deputy mayor, because either the M4EG coordinator or the officer in charge. And however, municipalities will be free to determine who these 2 representatives will be. We expect that we will not limit ourselves to only one group, and we'll have the second stage in autumn. The first one will be in offline discussion in an attempt to discuss and address all these issues. I'll be really happy to hear your feedback and your participation. And I once again encourage to use this online platform. The link you just received in the chat, please start diving more deeper because the Armenian translation is already there. Thank you very much for your attention. Looking forward, everyone, in our offline discussion and our upcoming working meeting in August 8 and 9. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gerard, and thanks also for being the front runner and starting already in 2 weeks' time to test the content and to get feedback from members. Over to Baku and Javid.
Salam, herkese salamlayıram.
I welcome you all.
I'm very grateful to all the attendants for having already been with us. In Azerbaijan, with regards to Urban Learning Center, there are a number of the events are planned, and of course, in the first stage to begin with, what we're going to do to join the platform until August 31st. We are going to forward all the invitations, and we're looking forward to receiving, positive response to this invitation, that they will react positively. And furthermore, in order to get closer with the platform, in order to secure a rather effective collaboration, starting September this year, a number of the regions of Azerbaijan on a regional level, very offline live events are going to be accommodated through Urban Learning Center, indeed. And in terms of the amenities to certainly capitalize on. So our objective by the end of November is the completion of all the municipalities by once again end of November. And at the end of this year, there will be a huge event to be held in Baku, where these municipalities will be awarded. So I would kindly ask Azerbaijani municipalities who are present here to tap into the platform. The invitations have already been forwarded. Should you have any questions, again, I'm more than willing to address all your questions. And I hope this new learning opportunity that is being presented today will certainly be of great use and open to all of you. Bear in mind that registration in this platform are open to all the municipality staff. So any staffer may certainly capitalize on this platform. The more, the better. Thank you very much. Appreciate.
Thank you, Javid, and thank you also for highlighting that this is for everybody can sign up for this regardless role at the municipality. Of course, we encourage also that you do it together or as a group like this, I think photo here shows. With that, we'll go over to Georgia, to our Georgian colleagues.
Thank you, Tina. I will also switch to Georgian.
I would like to greet all of you. Thank you so much for participating in this meeting. I believe the platform proposed by our initiative mayors for economic growth is really effective and helpful. Colleagues already mentioned the activities which are supposed to be implemented, and I will say briefly about Georgia. Our Georgian team, Otar and me, will help you to sign up on the platform to ensure that the module server placed there are accessible for you. And then in mid-September, will plan online session to provide more details regarding participation in the courses. So the first 3 modules are already presented, and then in November, we plan a meeting, face-to-face meeting with those who will attend these first 3 modules, and then we'll go through the rest of the modules. And I do hope that you will be active, because we all understand the importance of the continuous learning when we speak about future of our municipalities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiko. And over to our colleagues in Moldova, and what's planned there.
Thank you, Tina. I also switched to Romanian. Salut, dragi colegi.
Hello, dear colleagues. I'm glad to see you all. I've seen a lot of people sending comments from Stefan Vodostov, Chen Lova, all of us. We're really glad to see all them here. As about the further steps for Moldova, I am subscribing to what a colleague said in other countries. Of course, we can send forward the invitation and help you register on the relevant platform, so that later on to join these courses. First 3 modules, we'd like to have them till the end of August conducted. Later on, we are going to add the full course related to all the modules, and we'd like to have them finalized estimately by the end of September. After these courses, we are going to appreciate, of course, your feedback, because basic benefit from this would be to have this knowledge. In terms of providing this knowledge, is to have this common learning, because in Moldova are 45 regions. We can benefit from those interactive discussions among us to understand how to better develop the economy and to prepare better for the future, our villages and cities. And in September, when we are going to have the annual meeting in Moldova of the mayors, we're going to have a online course, or offline better to say, related to those workshops that already are included in the online course. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mitja. And then last but not least, our colleagues in Ukraine. Over to you. I think it's Stas.
Thank you, Tina. I will also switch to Ukrainian. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thanks a lot for joining this event. Thanks a lot for contributing to the development of this course. Let me just identify the next follow-up steps that we are going to undertake to make sure that you are part of the course. On July 28th, we are going to send out the invitations for you to join the platform, Spark Blue. Then having joined or having registered, you'll be able to start online courses. In September, second week, we are going to have online session on the course, and there you will be able to raise any question as to how you can use this platform. Maybe you might maybe you can have some questions as to registration or the start of the courses, or any questions can be answered there. You'll have 1 month to cover the first 3 modules. Our deadline is September 1 for them, and we are also going to have the workshop. That's the first week of September, to discuss the course, what you liked about it, what can be improved regarding modules 1, 2, and 3. Generally speaking, we can say that we have dedicated platforms where just channels for communication in each of the countries, and we would encourage you to give your feedback on each and every module and different subjects. If you have any suggestions, proposals, please feel free to post them as well, and we'll try to respond to your suggestions. Thanks a lot. Looking forward to seeing you, cooperating with you, and getting your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stas, as well. Let's, if we can remove, Samira, just here's our contact point for everyone. But I know we're over time, and I just also want to thank all colleagues for sharing what will happen at the country level. And I really look forward to hearing feedback from all these activities and on the rollout of this first course. And particularly, how can we best tailor this? It's sometimes hard, of course, to make something more regional. So we always need to further translate and further bring it down so that it's relevant for as many as possible for you, that it's meaningful and useful. So your comments here are crucial, so don't be shy. If you find something that could be addressed, changed, etc., then we're all ears. And that's also why we're rolling it out a little bit differently, perhaps from country to country. So our country colleagues will, of course, share more information with all of you in the respective language, how to log in, and etc. But before we wrap up, are there any questions in the meantime, or any comments from any of you? The floor is open. Anything in the chat, or is this all clear? I hope many of you have or are going to sign up now. All right. I have a question. Irakli, how are you doing today? Calling in from Kutaisi. over to you.
I would like to greet you from Kutaisi. Thank you so much. I do not have question. I just want to express my opinion and wish and attitude. I'm really happy that we have opportunity to participate in this process, in this center. We quite actively communicate with Tbilisi office, TKO and OTAR. We on a regular basis see the news provided on the website, and I would like to inform you that it's these are very important news for us. This information supports us in fulfilling our daily work, and we do our best to change our mindset and approaches in our daily work, and we use some tools in our decision making. Our mayor, Mr. Josep, is quite actively engaged in this process, and so this process is result focused for us, result oriented, and very fruitful. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. In December of last year, we participated in an event. We discussed Tallinn and other countries' experience, and you know, it was also very helpful. And this smart city portfolio we work on in cooperation with UNDP, we explain these approaches, we explore the approaches, and it's absolutely crucial for us. So we really support this process and will be very active. Thank you indeed. Thanks to all organizers and participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Irakli, for sharing, and thank you for being here today with us. Are there any other comments or questions before we wrap it up and wish everybody a good day? All good. Unless there's anything, I just want to take the opportunity again to thank everyone for taking the time to be here today with us for this launch of the first course. Very exciting and key milestone for us. And I want to thank again, of course, our colleagues at the EU, our colleagues at ARUP and Climate Kick and Tallinn University of Technology, all of my colleagues at UNDP, and of course, all of you for joining in. We're shaping this together, so we do want and we need your feedback to make this as meaningful as possible going forward. And lastly, to our, as always, our interpreters. This would not be possible without you. Thank you so much. And we will share, of course, the recording of this relevant material. And lastly, please do sign up. I hope to see our numbers on people who have signed up to the course and the platform increase over the next couple of weeks. And then with that, I thank you all for joining. And I know many of you will go into holiday season. So enjoy your leaves and build up resilience for what's coming up in the fall. And hope to see many of you in person as well in some of these events, starting in Armenia already in 2 weeks' time. So thank you all for today and have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, bye.
Teşekkür ederim, sağ olun.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.